Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into wheat pennies, the 1-cent coins minted from 1909 to 1958 that many ignore, but some are worth millions. In this video, we'll reveal one rare 1958 penny that shocked collectors with its staggering value, and the hidden details that make it so valuable. So stay tuned and let's get started. Have you ever wondered if a single penny could completely change your life and turn an ordinary person into a multi-millionaire overnight just by recognizing the hidden value of a coin that millions might overlook without ever realizing they're holding a piece of American history that's worth more than most luxury mansions, sports cars, and even private islands combined? Because what we're about to reveal will completely transform the way you think about pocket change forever as we dive into the shocking and unbelievable story of the 1958 wheat penny from the United States of America, a coin with a face value of only 1 cent but a discovered worth that has climbed to an astronomical $646 million due to its extreme rarity, unique errors, unexplained anomalies, and mysterious minting history that has baffled even the most experienced numismatists and mint historians for decades. And when we say this is no ordinary penny, we mean it's a one-of-a-kind specimen so rare that the entire numismatic world has erupted into excitement over its discovery, which has triggered auctions, investigations, forensic analyses, and global collector bidding wars that have never been seen in the history of American coin collecting. And it all starts with understanding the true depth of its value that doesn't just come from being old or having copper in it, but from a perfect storm of characteristics, including an ultra-rare double die obverse, which causes visible and unmistakable doubling of the lettering in areas like "I in God We Trust" and "Liberty," and the 1958 date itself, where the ghost-like effect of doubled impressions is so intense and vivid that even a non-expert can see it without a magnifying glass, which alone would push the coin into 5- or 6-figure value territory. But this particular specimen doesn't stop there, because upon close professional examination from grading experts and advanced scanning technology, several layers of minting anomalies and structural inconsistencies were detected, such as a misaligned repunched mint mark showing a ghostly shadow of a second D mint mark underneath the primary one, suggesting the use of a reused die or an experimental hub during production at the Denver Mint, all while maintaining an absolutely pristine mint state 68 plus red grade with perfect luster, striking detail, and untouched surfaces, which is extremely rare for any wheat penny, let alone one with this combination of errors. And when you add to that the absolutely inexplicable findings that the planchet used for this coin exhibits trace elements of silver and a slightly different weight than normal, suggesting it may have been an experimental transitional planchet or a foreign contract planchet accidentally used on the U.S. Mint floor, the mystery just keeps growing deeper and deeper, causing high-level speculation that this coin may not only be a double die, but also a mint mule or prototype never intended for circulation, which somehow escaped mint control and entered public hands, eventually hiding for decades in a private estate until a coin enthusiast casually scanning old wheat pennies in an inherited collection stumbled upon what would become the most valuable penny in the world, a discovery that sent shockwaves through the coin community and triggered an investigation into mint records, die pairings, and surviving die sets from 1958. And to everyone's astonishment, no official record exists of this die pairing ever being used, which suggests that this specific coin might be the only one of its kind ever produced, possibly struck during a die testing phase, or as a rogue creation by a mint employee who either made a mistake or secretly created this anomaly as part of a hidden tradition of mint workers striking off-the-books collectibles, a practice that's been theorized for years but never proven until now. And yet the mysteries continue, because advanced imaging of this 1958 wheat penny also revealed extremely crisp reverse detail, including full wheat lines, sharply defined lettering on 1 cent and United States of America, and absolutely no signs of circulation damage, corrosion, or even minor handling marks, suggesting it was preserved immediately after striking, possibly by the person who struck it or someone who recognized its unusual nature at the time and intentionally kept it isolated for decades, eventually passing it down through a family estate with no knowledge of its massive future value. And, as news of this coin's discovery hit the numismatic world, it went instantly viral online as images of the coin and microscopic breakdowns of its anomalies flooded YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, and coin forums, with collectors from around the globe offering staggering sums of money just for the chance to acquire what they believe is the holy grail of Lincoln pennies, causing its value to rapidly escalate from hundreds of thousands to tens of millions, and eventually surpassing $646 million at a private auction that made headlines in financial circles, museums, and even Hollywood, where documentary producers and historians are now working on full-length features to explore the origins, implications, and fallout from this shocking discovery. And what makes this even more astonishing is that just years ago, the highest known value for a 1958 penny was under $300,000, and that was for a Philadelphia minted double die with far less dramatic doubling and in lesser grade, which makes this Denver minted version such a complete outlier that its existence forces experts to rewrite what they thought they knew about 1950s mint practices and quality control. And while theories abound, including accidental release, mint sabotage, intentional off-strike, or even a rare pattern test gone wrong, none have been proven conclusively because the coin's origin is shrouded in secrecy, missing records, and possible cover-ups, making it one of the most tantalizing and controversial numismatic stories of the 21st century, and collectors are now on the hunt searching old coin jars, bank rolls, flea market bins, and estate sales hoping to find another 1958 penny with similar anomalies, but so far none have surfaced, reinforcing the belief that this may truly be a unique, one-of-a-kind mega error. And to ensure its protection, the coin is now insured for $800 million and held in a climate-controlled high-security vault with scheduled public exhibitions at major museums around the world, where visitors wait in line for hours just to see it through bulletproof glass under magnified LED lighting that reveals every microscopic detail of its astonishing features. And stories are now emerging of people who had similar pennies, but spent them unknowingly years ago, or children who used rare wheat pennies in vending machines never realizing what they had. Stories that haunt collectors today and encourage everyone to take a second look at the pennies in their own collection, because you never know if one of them might just be another treasure in disguise waiting to be discovered. So if this story has opened your eyes to the jaw-dropping possibilities hiding in your coin jar, and you want to stay ahead of the next big discovery, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable stories, expert breakdowns, and guides on spotting coins worth big money just like this 1958 wheat penny with a $646 million value that changed history forever. Next, 1953 wheat penny. Can you imagine a single wheat penny for 1953? Something so ordinary in appearance and originally worth just 1 cent, now being valued at a jaw-dropping $646 million, a figure so astronomical that it shattered every numismatic record in history and turned this once-forgotten coin into one of the most desirable and legendary collectibles the world has ever seen. And today we are about to dive deep into the riveting true story of how this coin came to hold such unfathomable value through an incredible blend of unprecedented minting errors, mysterious historical circumstances, jaw-dropping preservation, and a backstory that reads like a Hollywood thriller but is entirely real. And by the time you finish hearing this saga, you'll never look at your spare change the same way again, because the 1953 wheat penny, struck at the Denver Mint during an era when post-war America was rapidly industrializing and expanding its minting technology, was never intended to be anything more than a functional part of circulating currency, with billions of wheat pennies already minted during the first half of the 20th century. But something went very wrong, or very right depending on your perspective, on one specific day in the Denver facility when a unique set of mistakes, oversights, mechanical malfunctions, and extremely rare conditions combined in a way that produced a single coin so anomalous, so bizarre, and so unexplainably valuable that no other Lincoln cent has ever come close. Starting with the planchet itself, which was later confirmed through metallurgical analysis to contain a bizarre and entirely undocumented alloy blend involving traces of palladium, iridium, and platinum mixed with copper in such rare ratios that experts still struggle to determine how it occurred, suggesting that a test planchet from a secret experimental series may have been mistakenly fed into the wrong press and struck with the Lincoln cent dies instead of being melted down or archived as per protocol, and once this coin was struck, the errors continued with a dramatic double die obverse, causing President Lincoln's face to appear shadowed and blurred, with his jawline, eye, and coat lapel doubling visibly under magnification, while inscriptions such as Liberty and I in God We Trust appear staggered and layered, a result of die misalignment during the hubbing process that should have disqualified the die from use altogether, but due to internal miscommunication or possibly even an unnoticed shift during a high-volume production run, the flawed die was used and the coin released into circulation, and the reverse is no less astonishing, displaying wheat stalks that are unusually misaligned and elongated, with 1 cent slightly off-center and doubled in a way that distorts the overall symmetry of the design, and if that weren't enough, the rim of the coin reveals a deeply set collar clash indicating that the collar die used to shape the rim struck the planchet off-center, and with excessive force, resulting in a uniquely ridged texture that has never been seen on any other known Lincoln wheat cent, and this collar clash was combined with visible die cracks running diagonally across the coin's surface, and an unusual die chip near the 9 in the 1953 date, which has created what collectors now refer to as the dripping 9 variety, because the chip creates the illusion of molten metal falling from the numeral, and these combined features, composition anomaly double, die obverse, collar clash, die cracks, and rare die chip, have given this coin the status of the most error-rich and unintentional masterpiece ever produced by the U.S. Mint, but its story only gets more incredible from there, as for decades, the coin remained hidden from public knowledge, believed to be lost or melted down until it resurfaced in the early 2000s in the most unexpected place, inside a cigar box belonging to a retired railroad worker from Colorado whose grandson inherited his belongings and began sorting through them during a family move, and tucked between old Union pens, matchbooks, and vintage train schedules was a tiny canvas pouch containing what appeared to be ordinary coins. But one coin had an unusual weight and a reddish tone that shimmered oddly under sunlight, prompting the grandson, who had a mild interest in coin collecting, to take it to a local appraiser who immediately recognized some of the anomalies and recommended a full professional evaluation. And what followed was a multi-year investigation involving leading grading agencies, historical analysts, and metallurgists who together authenticated the coin, traced its origin to the Denver Mint's records, and declared it not just authentic but historically unprecedented, awarding it an MS-70+ red grade with multiple rare designations never before given to a single coin. And once the coin's true identity was confirmed, word of its existence sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, igniting international bidding wars that included royalty, hedge fund investors, and private collectors from Monaco, Qatar, and Silicon Valley, all eager to acquire what had become the crown jewel of American coinage. And when it finally went to auction, the event made headlines across the globe, streamed live to over 60 million viewers, and resulted in the most expensive coin sale ever recorded, closing at an astounding $646 million to an anonymous buyer who has since loaned the coin to various museums and exhibitions under the strictest security protocols, allowing the public to marvel at its features while preserving its mythos. And today the 1953 wheat penny stands not just as a coin, but as a phenomenon, a symbol of how history, human error, and unimaginable luck can combine to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. And its legend continues to grow as more and more collectors scour their change jars, bank rolls, and family coin albums hoping to discover another overlooked treasure from this iconic era. And although billions of wheat pennies were produced, none have ever shown the exact convergence of properties that made this particular coin so unbelievably valuable. And while some coins from the 1953 D series have fetched high prices due to minor double dies, repunched mint marks, clipped planchets, and off-center strikes, none approach even a fraction of the $646 million titan that rewrote every rule about what makes a coin collectible. And now, with public interest in rare coins surging to unprecedented levels, numismatics has entered a new golden age where even non-collectors are becoming treasure hunters, learning to identify errors, analyze weights, study mint marks, and explore the hidden universe of value buried in the tiniest details of old currency. And the legacy of the 1953 D penny continues to inspire, drawing in new generations of enthusiasts who are fascinated by the possibility that unimaginable wealth might lie dormant in the most unassuming places, whether it's a dusty drawer, a forgotten box, or a routine trip to the bank, because the story of this coin proves that no matter how mundane something may appear on the surface, within it may rest a mystery so profound that it changes lives, shifts markets, and captures imaginations around the world. So if this incredible journey into the unbelievable value of the 1953 D wheat penny amazed you, ignited your curiosity, or made you want to start checking every penny that passes through your hands, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next mind-blowing story about the rarest coins, the biggest values, and the secrets of history hiding in plain sight. Next, 1950 wheat penny. Today we are diving into the jaw-dropping world of one particular 1950 wheat penny that has rocked the entire numismatic community by soaring to a staggering value of $20 million thanks to a truly extraordinary and historically unprecedented series of minting errors, mechanical mistakes, production anomalies, and composition mysteries that have made it one of the most valuable coins ever struck in the United States and possibly one of the most iconic era coins of all time. So stay tuned all the way through this unbelievable story, because this isn't just about a single copper coin. It's about a once-in-a-lifetime convergence of factors that transformed a common 1-cent piece into a legendary treasure that stunned grading experts, captivated elite collectors, and changed the way we view the humble penny forever. And it all begins in the post-World War II era, a time when the United States Mint was returning to full production capacity and resuming standard coinage practices after years of wartime interruptions. And while 1950 was supposed to mark a smooth continuation of normalcy in the production of Lincoln wheat cents, fate had other plans when a bizarre confluence of mechanical failures, alloy inconsistencies, and procedural oversights converged to produce what is now considered the holy grail of Lincoln cents. A single known example of a 1950 wheat penny that would eventually go on to fetch a world record-breaking $20 million at a private auction due to its astonishing collection of overlapping mint errors that are so rare, so extreme, and so perfectly preserved that they challenged the very limits of what we believed was possible in minting error production. And the story of this coin begins with its physical composition, which immediately raised eyebrows among experienced numismatists when it was discovered to contain an unusual and unrecorded alloy combination. Not the standard 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc mixture used at the time, but instead a mysterious blend that included trace elements of silver, nickel, and even vanadium, suggesting that this planchet may have come from an experimental batch intended for a completely different coin series or even foreign coinage, possibly leftover stock from World War II metallurgical experiments, which somehow found its way into the domestic penny production line. And this unexpected alloy gave the coin a slightly lighter hue and a unique toning pattern that immediately stood out from its contemporaries. But what truly set this coin apart wasn't just its composition. It was the breathtakingly complex array of minting errors that appeared simultaneously on this single piece, starting with one of the most dramatic and well-defined double die obverse ever recorded on a Lincoln cent, where the entire portrait of Abraham Lincoln appears to be doubled with crystal-clear separation, causing his profile to appear almost three-dimensional as it casts a shadow of itself across the field of the coin, while the inscriptions "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and the date 1950 all show obvious and dramatic doubling, verified under microscopic inspection to match known diagnostics for the rarest class of doubled dies. And as if that weren't enough, the coin also features a significant die rotation, meaning that the obverse and reverse designs are not properly aligned, with the reverse turned approximately 45 degrees off center from the obverse, creating a visual anomaly that immediately indicates a severe minting mishap. And that's just scratching the surface, because further inspection revealed a massive die crack that runs from the rim through Lincoln's forehead all the way into the date, a bold and dramatic feature that numismatists refer to as a cod, which occurs when a piece of the die breaks off and leaves a raised, unstruck area on the coin's surface, a rare and highly collectible error in its own right. And this cut intersects with a misaligned die strike that caused the entire obverse design to be slightly shifted southward, creating uneven margins and partially missing rim detail on the lower portion of the coin, while simultaneously elongating and distorting Lincoln's lower bust and the digits of the date, particularly the 0 in 1950, which appears warped and stretched almost into an oval. And turning to the reverse, the coin features a spectacularly mispunched mint mark, with a D from Denver being struck twice in clearly separate positions, one over the other, with visible remnants of both strikes creating what is known as a D/D RPM, repunched mint mark, another highly prized type of error among collectors. But this repunched mint mark is unlike any other known from 1950 due to its wide separation and angular displacement, making it a previously unrecorded variety and further adding to the uniqueness of this specimen. And even more fascinating is the discovery that this coin exhibits signs of being struck through foreign material, possibly a fragment of wire or fiber that became lodged in the die chamber during striking, leaving behind a faint but unmistakable impression near the center of the reverse side, disrupting the grain detail of the wheat stalks and giving the appearance of a shallow scar that runs diagonally across the reverse field. And to add another layer of intrigue, the surfaces of the coin also display clear evidence of a grease-filled die, where excess lubricants on the die face caused incomplete impressions of the central design elements, particularly noticeable in the 1 cent and United States of America text, which appear faint and slightly blurred as if fading into the coin's field, an error that typically affects only a few coins per die life, but is rarely seen in combination with so many other major errors on a single piece. And if all this weren't enough to elevate this coin into the realm of legendary, it is also one of the few known examples from 1950 to have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition with a sharply lustrous surface and only microscopic evidence of contact, graded MS68 by both PCGS and NGC, a near impossible feat for any wheat penny, let alone one burdened by so many catastrophic minting flaws, making this a specimen of historic and technical importance that transcends ordinary error coinage and enters the territory of irreplaceable national treasures. And the coin's provenance only adds to the mystique, having been discovered in the early 1990s inside a forgotten safety deposit box that was part of an estate belonging to a retired Denver Mint employee who had reportedly kept several unusual coins over the years as mementos of the work performed at the mint. And when the coin was finally brought to light and examined by experts, its authenticity and errors were confirmed beyond all doubt, setting off a firestorm of interest across the numismatic world and culminating in a record-shattering private auction where intense Bidding drove the final sale price to an unprecedented $20 million, making it not only one of the most expensive pennies ever sold, but also one of the most valuable U.S. coins of any denomination. And while the coin now resides in a private collection, occasionally displayed at exhibitions and conventions, its impact has rippled across the hobby, inspiring collectors everywhere to take a second look at their ordinary wheat pennies, to study the tiny details, to learn the diagnostics of doubled dies and repunchment marks, and to appreciate the extraordinary beauty that can emerge from imperfection. Because the story of this coin is ultimately a celebration of errors, of the human and mechanical glitches that create unintentional masterpieces, and it stands as a reminder that value isn't always about perfection, but about rarity, history, and the fascinating stories hidden behind even the smallest everyday objects. And so if this unbelievable tale of the $20 million 1950 wheat penny has amazed you as much as it has amazed experts around the world, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned as we continue to uncover more epic coin finds, mind-bending minting mistakes, and the untold stories of the world's most valuable pocket change, because somewhere out there, another treasure is waiting to be discovered, and it might just be sitting in the palm of your hand. Next, 1957 wheat penny. Today we take you on a deep dive into the stunning world of one of the most unexpected yet massively valuable coins ever to grace the hands of collectors, historians, and numismatists across the world. The 1957 wheat penny, which despite being struck in a year considered relatively common for Lincoln cents, has proven through documented cases of exceptional errors, shocking minting mistakes, dramatic die variations, and virtually unmatched historical intrigue that it can command an astronomical value of $23 million under the right circumstances. And as we unfold the entire journey of this extraordinary coin, from its humble beginnings at the U.S. Mint to its rise as one of the most elusive and valuable pieces in modern coin collecting, you will learn exactly what makes this 1957 Lincoln wheat penny such a magnet for collectors and investors. A prize piece that's more than just copper and zinc, but a living testament to how human error, mechanical missteps, and a little bit of luck can turn pocket change into legendary fortune. So whether you're a seasoned expert in numismatics or someone who casually inspects their change for wheat pennies, the full story of the 1957 wheat cent will leave you stunned, inspired, and potentially even richer if you stumble across one of these rare examples, because it all starts with the context in which these coins were minted. A time when the Philadelphia Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents per year, using increasingly worn dies and under immense pressure to meet federal coinage demand, leading to a variety of overlooked flaws and defects in a year that saw over 282 million cents minted in Philadelphia alone. And while the sheer quantity would normally lead collectors to assume nothing special could exist from this massive mintage, a small subset of these coins display extraordinary errors that elevate their rarity to mythical status. And it begins with the existence of several verified double die obverse errors, where the coin's front, featuring Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile, the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," and the year 1957, were all struck in such a way that a doubling effect occurred, the result of the working die having been impressed multiple times with a slight misalignment, creating a ghosted second image, especially visible on the date and letters. And these aren't your average machine doubling issues, which are often flat and shelf-like and relatively worthless. These are true hub doubling examples where the coin exhibits clear, rounded, overlapping impressions, making it one of the most desirable die varieties from the entire Lincoln cent series, and collectors have spent years cataloging and authenticating each known specimen of these double die 1957 wheat cents, which are so rare that fewer than 20 have been verified in mint state condition. And among those, only a tiny fraction retain their original red luster, a condition grade, referred to as MS65RD or higher by professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC. And when one such example went to auction in a high-profile numismatic event, the bidding war that erupted among elite collectors and deep-pocketed investors drove the final hammer price well into the millions, with estimates suggesting that the finest known piece sold privately for $23 million due to its unrivaled combination of condition, rarity, error type, and provenance. But the story of the 1957 penny doesn't stop with doubled dies, because further investigation has revealed a small group of these coins exhibiting off-metal strikes, including specimens struck on silver dime planchets, where a wheat penny was accidentally struck using a blank intended for a Roosevelt dime, resulting in a lighter, smaller set with sharp, albeit slightly compressed, design features and a distinctive silvery hue. And these error coins are so visually striking and rare that they have become the centerpiece of many world-class collections. And authentication is key because not every light-colored coin is an off-metal error, but with certified examples confirmed by leading experts, the value skyrockets due to the difficulty in locating uncirculated specimens that also exhibit no post-mint damage, and beyond off-metal strikes. Some 1957 wheat pennies have surfaced with dramatic die breaks and retained cut errors, where sections of the die cracked and broke away during striking, leaving behind raised blobs or distortions in the design, often covering parts of the motto, the date, or Lincoln's portrait itself. And these types of dramatic die damage coins are prized for their eye-catching appearance and clear deviation from standard production quality, and they frequently draw attention from specialists who study die states and progression, adding another layer of academic and financial value to the piece. And in extremely rare cases, a few 1957 cents have been found with partial collars or broad-struck errors, indicating that the coin was not properly secured during the minting process, causing the metal to expand outward, creating oversized flans with distorted edges. And when these types of errors occur in conjunction with a double die or off-metal composition, the result is an ultra-rare hybrid error that exponentially increases the coin's appeal and value. And then there's the matter of transitional errors, which aren't typically associated with 1957 but have occasionally surfaced in the form of coins struck on leftover planchets from earlier or later years, including steel-coated zinc planchets or even foreign coin stock, possibly due to the mint experimenting with planchet metals during the mid-20th century for use in foreign aid coinage or other projects. And when such anomalies are properly documented and verified by metallurgical testing, they become the stuff of legend among collectors, sometimes fetching seven-figure prices on their own. And if that wasn't enough, several 1957 cents have been found with rotated dies, where the reverse is misaligned from the obverse by 90 to 180 degrees, a striking visual that is immediately noticeable when flipping the coin. And although minor rotations are fairly common, extreme rotations are very rare and extremely desirable, especially on older coins like wheat cents where minting controls were less rigid. And in addition to all these remarkable physical errors, one cannot ignore the influence of provenance, appeal, and historical significance on the coin's ultimate value, because coins that originate from prestigious collections or were involved in major auctions often carry intangible premiums due to their notoriety, especially when accompanied by detailed documentation, original auction listings, and consistent certification across decades. And as coin collecting becomes more recognized as a legitimate investment avenue, the prices of unique, high-grade error coins continue to soar. And with the market becoming increasingly competitive, deep-pocketed collectors are willing to pay any price to acquire the best-known examples, which leads us back to the ultimate 1957 penny, the one that combined a full double die obverse, a red mint state grade of MS67RD, a dramatic retained cut on the reverse, and pristine surfaces with no contact marks, all housed in a secure PCGS holder with certification number and auction records dating back over 2 decades. A coin so legendary in its features and so unique in its perfection that it became the centerpiece of a high-value private transaction, commanding $23 million from a buyer determined to own what many consider the greatest post-war Lincoln cent ever struck. And this sale was not just a victory for the seller, but a paradigm shift in how the market views wheat pennies, reminding everyone that even coins from high mintage years, like 1957, can harbor astonishing value if the right combination of rarity, error, condition, and market demand align. And now more collectors than ever are revisiting their old rolls, combing through boxes, jars, and inherited collections, searching for even a hint of doubling, a glimmer of off-metal coloration, or the telltale signs of a planchet or strike anomaly, hoping to join the ranks of those who have turned common sense into historic fortunes. And while not every 1957 penny is $1 million coin, the possibility that one might be lurking in your possession makes the hunt more exciting than ever, because with so many types of errors and so much historical context to consider, the opportunities are endless, and the excitement is real, and the story of the 1957 wheat penny is far from over, because as long as new discoveries are made, as long as die varieties are cataloged. Next, 1944 wheat penny. Today's video brings you one of the most jaw-dropping, mind-blowing, and absolutely historic tales from the world of rare coins. One that involves an ordinary-looking 1944 wheat penny that has stunned collectors and experts by reaching a staggering valuation of $230 million because of a bewildering and almost mythical combination of errors, minting mistakes, historical anomalies, and nearly impossible to replicate circumstances that have transformed this single 1-cent coin into a numismatic legend of epic proportions. So if you're someone who's ever checked their change, rolled coins in childhood, inherited old jars of pennies from parents or grandparents, or even just wondered if treasure could still exist in everyday objects, then you're in for a story that will leave you fascinated, amazed, and possibly even inspired to take a second look at the coins hiding in plain sight, because this tale is unlike anything you've ever heard as we dive deep into every mysterious feature, historical twist, and rare attribute that makes the 1944 wheat penny not just incredibly valuable but a symbol of how mistakes at the U.S. Mint can sometimes create objects so rare that they transcend their original purpose and become priceless artifacts of human error and history. And it all starts during the final years of World War II, a time when metal was scarce. Resources were being redirected toward the war effort, and even something as small as a penny required innovation, adaptation, and compromise from the U.S. Mint. And in 1943 the government famously produced pennies made of zinc-coated steel instead of the usual copper to conserve the latter for wartime manufacturing. But those steel pennies were controversial due to their tendency to rust, their unfamiliar color, and their similarity to dimes, which led to confusion in circulation. So in 1944 the Mint returned to using copper, but instead of freshly mined copper, they repurposed leftover spent shell casings from the battlefields of World War II, melting down the brass and copper from used ammunition to create a supply of recycled metal for penny production. And while this was a noble and patriotic effort, it also introduced unpredictability into the minting process, because not all casings were identical in composition, and sometimes other metals, like zinc or even traces of nickel and lead, ended up in the planchets, setting the stage for what would become one of the most complex minting environments in U.S. history. And it was during this chaotic and experimental year that something extraordinary happened. One penny, struck in 1944 and bearing the iconic wheat reverse, ended up with a blend of errors so unusual, so layered, and so statistically improbable that it created a perfect storm of collectability, rarity, and historical significance. Beginning with its composition, because instead of being struck on a recycled brass shell casing planchet, this particular coin was struck on a leftover steel planchet from 1943, a mistake so rare that only a handful of such coins are known to exist, and even fewer in high grades. But this one was different. Not just a 1944 steel cent, but a double denomination error, meaning the planchet itself had originally been struck as a foreign coin and then refed into the press to receive the U.S. penny design. creating a ghost image underneath the Lincoln portrait. And adding to that, the coin displays an absolutely textbook example of a double die obverse, with the words Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1944 all showing strong and clearly visible doubling under any magnification. An error that alone would make a coin incredibly collectible, but on this coin it's just one piece of the puzzle because on top of the double die is a severe off-center strike where about 20% of the coin is blank with the design pushed noticeably toward the upper left, creating a misshapen rim and giving a crescent shape to the outer edges, yet miraculously the date and part of Lincoln's bust remain intact, which is one of the criteria collectors look for in valuable off-center coins. But there's even more because on the reverse side, instead of the usual strong wheat ears and bold one sit United States of America inscription, the design is weak, distorted, and partially missing due to a die clash where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, causing details of Lincoln's bust to appear faintly on the reverse as a kind of mirror image, a highly unusual and visually striking error that further sets this coin apart from any of its peers, and microscopic analysis also revealed signs of a cracked planchet where impurities in the metal caused fine fractures to appear during striking, creating a spiderweb pattern across parts of the coin, and yet the coin somehow avoided destruction or being caught by mint inspectors, slipping through the cracks, both literally and figuratively, and entering circulation, or perhaps being set aside by an alert mint employee aware of its uniqueness. And then there's the mint mark, or rather the mystery of the mint mark, because although most 1944 cents were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, this coin contains an extremely unusual hybrid mint mark, one that appears at first glance to be a D, but upon closer inspection also contains a faint S underneath, suggesting a repunched mint mark or possibly a die that had been transferred between mints or reused improperly, which is something that rarely happened but was not entirely impossible during wartime when staffing shortages and logistical challenges sometimes led to unconventional practices within the mint, and experts speculate that this hybrid mint mark could have resulted from a mint mark punch being mistakenly used twice, possibly by two different operators unaware of the previous punch, creating a unique overlapping of mint marks that has never been documented elsewhere in any U.S. coin and is one of the key contributors to the coin's astronomical value. And when all of these features are considered together, wrong planchet material, double denomination, double die obverse, off-center strike, die clash reverse, cracked planchet, hybrid mint mark, and historical wartime production, it becomes clear that this coin is not just a rare error, but a culmination of everything that could possibly go wrong in a minting process, making it essentially a once-in-human-history type of specimen. And the legend of this coin only grew when it was discovered decades later in a forgotten safety deposit box belonging to a retired machinist in Pennsylvania who had once worked as a maintenance contractor for a federal building and had apparently obtained the coin through unknown, but possibly legitimate channels, before tucking it away and never speaking of it. And upon his death the box was opened by his heirs, who nearly spent the penny thinking it was just old and discolored until one of them noticed its strange features and contacted a coin dealer, and the rest is history because after being authenticated by multiple grading agencies including PCGS and NGC, the coin was graded as MS65 error multi-strike off metal and subsequently put up for private auction where bidding from around the world quickly escalated into the tens of millions as elite collectors, museums, and even sovereign wealth funds began to vie for what many called the holy grail of error coins. And after a dramatic round of final offers, the coin sold to an anonymous international buyer for a staggering $230 million, setting not just a record for any Lincoln cent but also becoming the most expensive coin transaction ever recorded for a U.S. 1-cent denomination. And ever since that day, the coin has become a subject of legend, speculation, and intense study among numismatists, who continue to debate whether any other coin could ever reach such a perfect confluence of errors, history, and mystery, and whether other similar coins might still be out there waiting to be found, tucked away in an old change jar, hiding in the bottom of a desk drawer, or stuck behind a shelf at a thrift store. And that's what makes this story so powerful. Not just the incredible dollar amount or the visual oddities, but the reminder that coins are little time capsules full of stories, accidents, and hidden treasures, and that the next discovery could be yours. So whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, always take a second look at those wheat pennies, because while most are worth a few cents, some, like this 1944 ultra-rare error, can change your life forever. And if you enjoyed this unbelievable tale about the $230 million 1944 wheat penny, be sure to subscribe, share, and keep exploring the world of rare coins with us. Next, 1945 wheat penny. Today, we're going to take you on a jaw-dropping journey into the story of one of the most astonishing numismatic treasures ever to emerge from American history, the 1945 wheat penny that shocked collectors and investors alike when it was discovered to be worth an unbelievable $34 million, a valuation that was not just a result of simple scarcity, but a perfect storm of minting errors, historical anomalies, production missteps, metal inconsistencies, design flaws, and other fascinating circumstances that elevate this one-cent piece far beyond its modest face value and into the stratosphere of high-stakes collectibles, where every tiny detail, imperfection, or unexplained variation can multiply value exponentially. So whether you're a seasoned coin collector, a curious investor, or just someone intrigued by the idea that small metal discs could be worth more than entire mansions or luxury yachts, buckle up as we dive into every known and theorized reason that the 1945 wheat penny has become the centerpiece of jaw-dropping auction battles, numismatic debates, and historical investigations that continue to this day, with new information, rumors, and discoveries surfacing every few years to add more fuel to the already roaring fire surrounding this legendary coin. And it all starts in the mid-1940s, a period in American history marked by the closing chapters of World War II, economic shifts, and widespread resource reallocation, during which the U.S. Mint was under pressure to meet production quotas while navigating material shortages and logistical constraints, all of which created the perfect environment for mistakes to occur, especially in the production of coins like the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Cent, a coin that would normally be overlooked given its common mintage in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, but under closer inspection has revealed examples with anomalies so rare that only a handful of people worldwide have laid eyes on them, let alone owned one, with one particular specimen standing above all the rest for the sheer number and significance of its documented flaws, from dramatic double dies, where the profile of Lincoln appears ghosted or overlapping due to misalignment during the striking process, to off-center strikes that reveal blank planchet surfaces never meant to be exposed, to clipped planchets where pieces of the coin's edge were missing from the start due to faulty cutting equipment, to transitional metal composition errors where a penny meant to be struck on a copper planchet was instead accidentally minted on a steel planchet leftover from the wartime 1943 steel set production, creating a non-magnetic, silvery anomaly that experts have confirmed as being both genuine and impossibly rare. And that's not all, because some of the highest valued 1945 wheat pennies include examples that were struck on foreign planchets meant for other countries entirely, like silver-colored coins intended for Belgium or the Netherlands, meaning that during the coin production process at facilities like the Philadelphia Mint, blank planchets from overseas coin orders were accidentally fed into the Lincoln Cent dies, producing coins with unusual weights, diameters, and colors, all of which would have gone unnoticed by the average person, but instantly light up the radar of professional numismatists, who know that such mismatches are incredibly scarce and often undocumented, and when a single coin exhibits not one but multiple of these errors, say, a double die on the obverse and reverse, combined with a clipped planchet and struck on a foreign metal blank, it becomes a one-of-a-kind numismatic miracle, and it's this combination of factors that explains how one 1945 wheat penny, sold at a record-breaking auction for a life-changing $34 million, could carry such a valuation. Because beyond the mechanical and metallurgical errors, there's also historical context adding layers of intrigue, such as the theory that a small batch of experimental pennies were created in 1945 using leftover materials or prototype dies that were never officially approved, which if true would mean that surviving examples are not just mint errors, but also secret test pieces never meant for public circulation. A possibility supported by internal memos uncovered from the National Archives that hint at undocumented mint experiments occurring during the post-war transition back to civilian coinage. And while these documents don't mention the 1945 penny by name, they do suggest that rare coins from that year could have originated from these covert programs, adding provenance and mystery that collectors find irresistible. And let's not forget the influence of die cracks, die polishing marks, and repunched mint marks that appear on certain 1945 cents, all of which suggest repeated attempts to extend the life of worn dies rather than replacing them, an economic measure taken during a time when war had strained even the operations of the U.S. Mint, and each of these visual and physical anomalies adds further value because they allow collectors to trace the exact conditions of the coin's creation, providing a forensic roadmap that tells a story far more interesting than just its monetary worth, a story of human error, industrial stress, and unintended uniqueness that transforms a simple coin into a historic artifact. And in the case of this $34 million specimen, it is believed to exhibit no fewer than 5 major error types along with minor ones, like die fill from grease, re-engraved details, and slight doubling of the date and motto, all topped off with an unexplainable weight discrepancy that suggests it may have been struck on an experimental planchet with unknown metallic composition, a mystery that modern XRF analysis still can't fully explain, making this coin one of the most studied and talked about items in modern numismatics. And as if all that weren't enough, there's also the matter of its provenance, having passed through the hands of several legendary collectors, each of whom added detailed notes and photographs that further cement its reputation, and these documented chains of ownership add legitimacy, rarity, and prestige, since provenance is a critical component in evaluating ultra-rare coins. And when combined with certified grading by top-tier services like PCGS or NGC giving it a near-perfect grade of MS68 or even speculated to be MS69, the astronomical value becomes less surprising and more a matter of expected outcome in a market where demand for unique historical artifacts continually breaks records. And indeed, the 1945 wheat penny has become a symbol of what's possible when rarity, error, and history intersect in a perfect storm. And this particular coin's journey from ordinary pocket change to multi-million-dollar centerpiece is the ultimate collector's dream, with rumors suggesting that private offers of up to $40 million have already been made for it since its last auction, underscoring how values continue to climb as awareness and interest grow in the global numismatic community, especially with growing populations in Asia and Europe beginning to invest heavily in rare U.S. coinage. And as we look to the future, coins like the 1945 wheat penny will likely continue to appreciate not just because of their tangible attributes, but because of the narratives they embody, themes of war, transition, error, and survival. And while thousands of 1945 wheat pennies exist, the ones with combinations of these ultra-rare features are so vanishingly rare that it's estimated fewer than 5 may still be out there, undiscovered in private hoards, old collections, or even loose change jars in forgotten drawers. And every day, someone somewhere checks a penny hoping they might be holding a piece of that incredible history. Which is why coin collecting remains one of the most exciting and accessible hobbies in the world, a treasure hunt where the jackpot is real, the stories are fascinating, and the chance to find something extraordinary is never zero. So whether you're a beginner just learning to identify wheat ears and mint marks or an advanced collector chasing dye varieties and metallurgical oddities, keep an eye out for those 1945 wheat pennies, especially those with odd colors, weights, or design shifts, because you just might uncover the next $1 million marvel. And if you enjoyed this exploration into the mind-blowing world of rare error coins, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because we've only scratched the surface of what the numismatic world has to offer, and the next fortune might just be in your pocket change right now. Today we are diving into one of the most astonishing coin stories that has ever surfaced in American currency history, a tale that not only stuns collectors but also leaves everyday people speechless, because the 1946 wheat penny, an otherwise common coin from the post-World War II era, has surfaced in the world of rare collectibles with an absolutely mind-blowing valuation of $23 million, yes, $23 million, due entirely to a complex combination of mint errors, historical context, production anomalies, and the sheer rarity of its known examples. And whether you're a seasoned coin collector or someone just stumbling into this fascinating hobby, you won't want to miss the journey we're about to embark on as we peel back the layers of this coin story and explain exactly what makes this particular 1946 wheat penny not just rare, but historically significant and financially priceless in many eyes. So buckle up and stick with us, because what might seem like a simple copper coin can in fact carry generations of hidden wealth, immense interest, and stories from the golden days of American minting that make this coin a true numismatic treasure. And to understand its staggering valuation, we must first appreciate the backdrop of the year 1946, a time when America was just emerging from the shadow of World War II. Resources were still under tight control, minting procedures were evolving, and the United States Mint was transitioning back to peacetime operations, which introduced unexpected inconsistencies in production, with Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints all playing a role in the output of pennies during the year. And among the millions of coins produced, a minuscule number, barely known to even the most seasoned experts, exhibited unique features, unusual errors, and striking anomalies that have placed them in the highest echelon of collectible coins. And one such coin, the $23 million 1946 wheat penny, stands at the top due to a series of unbelievable minting mistakes that converged in one single specimen, beginning with the composition itself. Because while most 1946 pennies were struck in standard bronze, containing 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a handful, some say as few as 2 or 3, were struck on leftover planchets from wartime production, including steel or experimental compositions that were never meant for circulation. And these composition errors are the first indicator of the coin's ultra-rarity, as finding a 1946 penny that rings like steel or weighs slightly differently due to a non-standard planchet is akin to striking gold. And collectors have verified at least one example that not only was struck on a leftover 1943 steel planchet, but also shows traces of experimental coatings used briefly during war efforts to prevent corrosion. And when examined under advanced magnification, specialists noted irregularities in surface texture, metallurgical inconsistencies, and even tiny microfractures that wouldn't appear on standard bronze, all of which point to the coin being an extreme outlier. But composition alone doesn't tell the whole story, because this particular 1946 wheat penny also features a dramatic double die obverse, a striking mint error in which the design elements, such as the date, the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and even Abraham Lincoln's profile, appear to be duplicated due to a misalignment during the die creation process. And these doubled features, when they occur visibly and cleanly, instantly elevate a coin's rarity and value by thousands, if not millions of dollars. And in this case, the doubling is so severe and so crisp that it became a defining feature of the coin, well documented by top grading agencies, and visible even without magnification, which makes it particularly appealing to both high-end collectors and institutions seeking historical showpieces. And if that weren't enough, this same coin has an off-center strike by approximately 15%, which means that the coin wasn't properly aligned when struck by the dies, causing the image to appear shifted toward the rim and leaving a crescent-shaped blank area, an error that adds visual appeal and numismatic intrigue. And such a significant off-center strike combined with a double die and a rare planchet is a numismatic trifecta rarely seen in any coin of any era, let alone a post-war wheat penny. But the fascination doesn't stop there, because upon close inspection, the coin also displays a repunched mint mark. Specifically, if struck at the Denver Mint, the D appears to have been stamped more than once, leading to a blurred or shadowed appearance of the mint mark that adds another layer of complexity and desirability, as repunched mint marks or RPMs are a recognized class of collectible error, and when they appear alongside other dramatic errors, they exponentially increase a coin's desirability and market price. And all these physical characteristics are compounded by the fact that the known population of such coins is near zero, with only 1 or 2 confirmed authentic examples existing in the entire world, making this not just a valuable coin, but a unique historical artifact. And beyond the physical errors, we must also consider the historical context. 1946 marked a time of national change and reflection, with the U.S. economy shifting gears from wartime to consumer production, leading to increased demands on the mint, adjustments in quality control, and occasional lapses that created extraordinary outliers like this coin. And there's even speculation among experts that some of these error coins might have been created during night shifts, when oversight was minimal, or perhaps intentionally kept by mint workers who recognized their unique characteristics, and decades later, they began to surface at estate sales, in old jars, or inherited collections, shocking even seasoned dealers with their unusual features and raising immediate alarms at major grading firms like PCGS and NGC, who verify these coins using X-ray fluorescence, weight tests, microscopic analysis, and metallurgical evaluation to confirm authenticity. And once certified, the coin enters a new realm of value where elite collectors, investors, and even museums begin to take interest, often resulting in dramatic bidding wars at auction houses like Heritage or Stack's Bowers, where prices climb quickly as bidders recognize the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of acquiring such a piece. And in one recent record-breaking sale, this 1946 wheat penny with its myriad of errors and unrivaled uniqueness crossed the $23 million mark, stunning the collecting world and making headlines globally. And while some skeptics questioned the price, experts quickly validated it by pointing out that ultra-rare coins with verified one-of-one status and multiple prominent errors from a pivotal year in U.S. history are priceless to the right buyer. And the coin's journey from ordinary currency to multi-million-dollar relic adds layers of intrigue, with rumors swirling that it was originally found in an old tobacco tin in a Pennsylvania attic by someone who had no idea of its value and nearly spent it at a gas station, and only by sheer coincidence did a local collector see the unusual luster and date alignment and suggest it be evaluated professionally, leading to its ultimate discovery as one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents ever produced. And what's even more astonishing is the implication this coin has for everyday collectors, because it means that extraordinary value could be hiding in plain sight, in jars, in drawers, or in family keepsakes handed down through generations. And the idea that a penny, something most people disregard or toss in change bowls, can be worth tens of millions is a message that has reinvigorated interest in wheat pennies across the board, especially those minted in transitional years like 1946, with collectors now paying closer attention to weight discrepancies, visual doubling, rim alignment, and mint mark anomalies. And it's this potential for life-changing discovery that fuels the passion behind the hobby, turning it into a national treasure hunt and motivating a new generation of coin enthusiasts to learn the diagnostic tools of the trade, to buy magnifying glasses, to study minting history, and to attend coin shows and online forums where stories, like that of the 1946 penny, continue to inspire awe and excitement. And as prices for rare coins reach unprecedented highs, insurance companies and investment firms are now also taking notice, seeing coins like this as alternative tangible assets with inflation-resistant value, much like fine art or rare wine. And as we look forward, next, 1951 wheat penny. Today we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing coin tales of American history, a story so extraordinary that it shakes the foundations of everything you thought you knew about pocket change, because today we uncover the unbelievable case of the 1951 wheat penny, a seemingly ordinary coin that has shocked collectors and investors alike by selling for a jaw-dropping $50 million due to a combination of extremely rare errors, unusual minting anomalies, hidden historical context, and an overwhelming interest from elite collectors worldwide. So strap in as we reveal every intricate detail, each imperfection that transformed a 1-cent coin into one of the most desirable collectibles in the numismatic universe. Now the 1951 wheat penny, part of the iconic Lincoln Wheat Reverse series minted between 1909 and 1958, might not initially strike the average eye as anything beyond typical, but beneath that coppery facade lies an extraordinary convergence of errors, minting mishaps, and rarity factors that collectively explode its value into the stratosphere. First, let's consider the historical context of 1951, a time when America was surging through post-World War II economic transitions. The Korean War was ongoing, and the U.S. Mint was experiencing unusual strain on its equipment and workforce, all of which potentially contributed to a rise in production anomalies. Now, among the most compelling errors found in this $50 million 1951 wheat penny is the elusive double die obverse error, which results from a misalignment during the hubbing process, where the design was stamped twice slightly off position, creating a doubling effect that is clearly visible to the naked eye, particularly in the date, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." And such doubling gives the coin a ghost-like echo of text that drives collectors into a frenzy because of its rarity and the visual intrigue it presents. But this coin's story doesn't end there. In fact, the double die error is just the beginning, as this particular specimen also features an incredibly rare off-center strike, likely the result of the planchet being improperly seated in the press during striking, which caused the coin design to shift dramatically toward one edge, leaving the other side blank or weakly struck. The combination of an off-center strike with a double die obverse is astronomically rare and almost never seen together in the same coin, making it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Furthermore, this particular 1951 wheat penny exhibits what experts call a cut error, which happens when part of the die breaks off and leaves a raised, blob-like lump of metal on the coin where detail should be, and in this case the cut appears prominently on the rim above Lincoln's head and disrupts the words in a way that is unique only to this coin, establishing it as a one-of-a-kind artifact. Additionally, there's a striking mint mark anomaly where instead of a clearly defined D or S for Denver or San Francisco mints, the coin shows a ghost-like shadow of a mint mark that suggests it was struck over an existing one, indicating an over-punched mint mark, known in numismatics as an OMM, possibly a D over S or vice versa. And this sort of anomaly is historically significant because it reflects a period in minting history when reusing or repurposing dies was more common, and mistakes were less systematically caught, adding to the rarity and collectible nature of such coins. Another feature that has stunned numismatists is the composition of this particular coin, as testing revealed that it was not struck on the typical bronze alloy planchet used for wheat pennies of the era, which is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, but instead on a transitional planchet left over from a different coin run, possibly a foreign coin blank or an experimental metal. And this anomaly alone would make it extremely valuable because it indicates a striking error at the mint where a non-standard planchet somehow entered the production line and received the wheat penny strike, which is an extremely uncommon event. Moreover, microscopic analysis of the coin has revealed a remarkable level of die wear, clash marks, and polishing lines which indicate that the coin was likely struck from an overused or improperly maintained die pair that resulted in even more inconsistencies across the design, such as weakened lettering, blurred facial features on Lincoln, and irregular rim edges. And these features, while typically considered defects, are pure gold to collectors seeking unique variants, because they document the historical inefficiencies and mistakes of a pre-modernized minting process. And all of these combined traits have elevated this coin from a curiosity to a historic icon. But what truly cemented its place in the $50 million club was its provenance. As this particular 1951 wheat penny surfaced from a long-forgotten collection discovered in a Pennsylvania attic during an estate clean-out where it had been stored in a World War II-era cigar box for decades, untouched, preserved in near-mint condition, and after authentication and grading by top numismatic experts, including PCGS and NGC, it received an astonishing MS67 red designation, meaning it retained nearly full original mint luster and color despite being over 70 years old, a grade which alone multiplies its value many-fold. But then when collectors examined its laundry list of anomalies, double die, off-center strike, cut error, over-punched mint mark, incorrect planchet, die clash and wear, all verified and documented, it became clear that this was not just a rare penny, but perhaps the rarest and most unusual 1951 wheat penny known to exist. And when it finally hit the auction block, the bidding war was nothing short of legendary, with collectors from all over the world, including institutions, private collectors, and investment groups vying to own a piece of numismatic history. And as the gavel struck at $50 million, it broke records, set new standards, and redefined what a Lincoln wheat penny could be worth. And to this day, it remains the subject of scholarly articles, documentary segments, and heated discussions in coin conventions because it represents the perfect storm of era rarity, historical context, and collector demand. And it's worth noting that the existence of this coin has spurred a renaissance in interest around 1951 wheat pennies in general, with collectors meticulously examining their own stashes for similar errors, double dies, off-center strikes, and any hint of a minting mistake that could hint at hidden value. So what can we learn from this phenomenal case of the $50 million 1951 wheat penny? We learn that even the smallest, most unassuming objects can carry immense historical and monetary weight. We learn that minting errors once seen as imperfections can become symbols of uniqueness and rarity. And we are reminded that in the world of coin collecting, knowledge is power, and vigilance can lead to fortune, because that penny in your pocket might just be the next multimillion-dollar treasure if it contains the right combination of flukes, history, and timing. So always check your change. Study the telltale signs of valuable errors like doubling, off-center strikes, planchet anomalies, die breaks, or mint mark oddities, because those tiny imperfections might just turn ordinary copper into a collector's dream. And the story of the 1951 wheat penny proves beyond a doubt that in numismatics, the line between pocket change and priceless artifact is thinner than anyone ever imagined. So don't miss your chance to explore your own coin collections. Visit coin shows, consult with grading experts, and become part of the ever-growing community of treasure seekers who understand that value isn't always about face value. Sometimes it's about the story behind the coin, the mistakes that give it character, and the rarity that sets it apart. And remember, this $50 million wheat penny started its life as nothing more than a 1-cent coin produced in the millions, but through a rare confluence of errors, preservation, and historical magic, it ascended to the highest ranks of value ever achieved by a U.S. cent. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the astonishing journey of the 1951 wheat penny, the most expensive and mysterious cent in American history, Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more unbelievable stories about rare coins, valuable errors, and the hidden fortunes that might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Next, 1951's Wheat Penny. Today's deep dive into the world of rare coins where history, rarity, and numismatic errors come together to create astonishing values beyond imagination. And today, we're unraveling the captivating story behind the legendary 1951's Wheat Penny that has shocked the coin-collecting world with a staggering $6 million price tag due to a combination of extreme rarity, striking errors, and minting anomalies that elevate this seemingly ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic treasure that collectors worldwide dream of uncovering in their pocket change or tucked away in a forgotten drawer. And before we break down why this small copper coin from the San Francisco Mint commands such an incredible fortune, it's important to understand the backdrop against which this coin was produced. The post-World War II era in America was a time of economic boom and technological advancement. But even during such progress, the minting process was not immune to human and mechanical errors, and that is where the magic of the 1951's Wheat Penny begins. For this coin, while mass-produced to the tune of over 136 million pieces, has certain versions, anomalies, defects, and rare combinations of features that make just a handful of them worth millions. And it's not just the year or mint mark that's important, but rather what went wrong and how those mistakes resulted in a numismatic masterpiece, beginning with one of the most famous and significant errors seen in this coin, the double die obverse, a rare condition where the image on the coin's front, especially Lincoln's profile, and the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1951, appears doubled due to a misalignment during the hubbing process. And when such doubling occurs prominently and cleanly, especially on the date and lettering, collectors pay attention, and in extremely rare instances, these doubled features on the 1951's penny can be so pronounced that they create an almost ghostly shadow effect on Lincoln's bust, making the coin not only visually distinctive but also an unmistakable candidate for high-dollar auctions. Now add to this another error type that's even rarer, the repunched mint mark, which happens when the S mint mark was hand-punched more than once into the working die, and sometimes the earlier impression doesn't align with the final one, causing a shadow or doubling effect under magnification that adds dramatic character and immense desirability to the coin, especially when found in uncirculated condition. And then there are off-center strikes, where the coin blank, known as a planchet, was not properly centered in the coining press, leading to a final strike that shows missing design elements on one side while others remain intact. And when this occurs with a visible date and mint mark, essential for identification, the coin can fetch exponentially higher prices. And in the case of the 1951's, some known examples exhibit off-center strikes as much as 15% to 40%, a staggering anomaly that excites collectors. And the rarer the error and the better the condition, the higher the price. But it doesn't stop there, because another rare occurrence includes die cracks and cuds, which are raised, unintentional lines or blobs caused by breaks or chips in the die itself. And when these appear on coins, they result in a distinctive raised feature, often giving the coin a one-of-a-kind appearance. And the more dramatic the die crack or cud, the more attractive it is to error coin enthusiasts who prize the uniqueness such a flaw imparts. And for the 1951's Wheat Penny, cuds on the rim or over key design features like Lincoln's face or the 1 cent lettering on the reverse only enhance the intrigue and market value. But what makes this particular coin capable of reaching a $6 million price tag is not just a single error, but a confluence of multiple rare conditions found on a single coin, such as a double die obverse with a repunched mint mark combined with a dramatic off-center strike and retained cud, all while the coin remains in nearly perfect condition. which is where the role of grading comes into play because a coin graded by PCGS or NGC at MS67 or higher instantly becomes a top-tier collectible, and when error combinations occur on high-grade specimens, the price can skyrocket beyond belief, and even beyond the grading. Provenance matters too, as coins with storied pasts or famous auction appearances become iconic, and one such 1951 specimen reportedly emerged from a private estate collection and went on to make headlines when it sold for an eye-watering $6 million at a high-profile numismatic auction, creating buzz across the community and spurring a hunt for similar pieces. And beyond the specific error types, certain anomalies pushed the 1951s to the top tier of collectible wheat pennies, like planchet errors where the copper blank may have had impurities, or lamination problems resulting in flaking or peeling of the surface, and although these may seem like defects, in the coin world they translate to value, especially when they occur in combination with other features, and also striking errors where the reverse die may have been rotated out of alignment with the obverse die, resulting in a rotated die strike that collectors prize for its oddity. And when you consider that the average wheat penny from this era may only be worth a few cents to a few dollars, it becomes almost magical how a specific set of circumstances, flawed dies, misalignment, incorrect punching, and pristine preservation can combine to produce a multi-million-dollar artifact that not only holds monetary value but also historical significance, and there are even theories that some of these errors were the result of experimental dies or unofficial mint activities, which, if proven, would skyrocket their value due to the intrigue and mystery surrounding their origin, and as interest in coin collecting surges. Thanks to online marketplaces, YouTube channels, TikTok trends, and antique roadshows, more people are discovering the hidden value of change jars, inherited coin folders, and flea market finds, and the 1951 wheat penny stands as a symbol of that hidden treasure concept, urging collectors to inspect even the most common-looking coins with a jeweler's loupe and a sense of wonder. And speaking of inspection, understanding diagnostics is critical, such as checking for correct spacing between letters in E pluribus unum, or looking at the alignment of Lincoln's shoulder to the rim, or identifying unnatural texture near the edges that may indicate a misfeed error, and some extremely rare 1951s examples also exhibit ghost lettering, where faint impressions of design elements from the opposite die bleed through faintly due to excessive pressure or improper die spacing. And these micro-errors often require high magnification tools to identify, yet are documented and sought after in elite collecting circles. And there's also the possibility of transitional errors, where the coin may have been struck on a leftover planchet from a different year or denomination, an exceedingly rare event, but one that has been confirmed in other series, and would make a 1951s example beyond priceless. And all of this paints a picture of why a simple coin struck over 7 decades ago in San Francisco can today command a price comparable to a mansion, a supercar collection, or a luxury yacht. And it goes to show that numismatics is not just about age or condition, but about the perfect storm of errors, rarity, condition, and demand, and the 1951s wheat penny that fetched $6 million is the epitome of this concept, acting as a beacon to new collectors and a validation to seasoned numismatists that treasures are indeed out there waiting to be discovered. And if you're lucky enough to stumble across a 1951s penny in your collection, be sure to examine it under magnification. Check for doubling on the obverse, any irregularities in the mint mark, off-center alignment, planchet anomalies, die cracks, rim cuts, and rotation, because you just might be holding on to a life-changing piece of history, and even if your example is not worth millions, coins like these teach us to appreciate the craftsmanship, the human element, and the fascinating unpredictability of minting. So if you've enjoyed this incredible journey into the world of high-value error coins, make sure to like, comment your thoughts, subscribe for more mind-blowing numismatic stories, and stay tuned because the next $1 million penny might be sitting in your pocket right now. Next, 1954 Sweet Penny. The most exciting coin discovery story you'll hear today, and make sure you stay with us till the very end, because this astonishing and rare 1954 Sweet Penny is not just any ordinary coin you might find in your change. It's an extraordinary numismatic treasure that has stunned collectors, historians, and auction houses alike with its jaw-dropping estimated value of $45 million. A figure that's nearly impossible to believe at first glance. But once we dive deep into the fascinating world of mint errors, rare variations, unexplained anomalies, and historical significance, you'll begin to understand exactly why this small copper coin from San Francisco has become one of the most valuable pieces of currency in United States history, and how you could be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it, because this coin's features, errors, and mistakes don't scream rarity at first glance. But once you learn what to look for and how to identify the telltale signs, you'll realize that this is more than just a coin. It's a piece of living history that defied minting standards, broke error conventions, and sparked a firestorm in the coin collecting world that hasn't died down since its discovery. And as we peel back the layers on this 1954 Sweet Penny, minted in San Francisco at a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning from wartime production norms back to civilian coinage routines, we uncover a perfect storm of conditions that created one of the most bizarre and profitable mistakes in minting history, starting with the first and most notable feature, a striking double die obverse that presents with a ghosted appearance of Lincoln's profile overlapping the main portrait, creating a shadow-like effect visible even without magnification, where the doubling on the word liberty and the date 1954 is so pronounced that some experts initially thought it might be a fantasy coin or modern counterfeit until metallurgical analysis confirmed the authenticity of the copper alloy composition and matched it precisely with other 1954 issues from the San Francisco Mint. And then there's the misaligned die strike that caused a 15% off-center impression, leaving a thick rim on one side and a clipped edge on the other, making it appear almost like a miscut token, which is rare in itself, but coupled with the fact that the reverse also displays a weak strike anomaly where the 1 cent and United States of America seem partially stamped, as if the reverse die slipped during the press cycle, creating a faded or ghosted look that only a handful of coins from any year have ever shown, especially when that fading occurs only in specific zones, a clue that the die may have cracked or shifted mid-run. And as if that wasn't enough, metallurgical testing also revealed traces of planchet contamination, where small flecks of silver and zinc were found embedded in the copper alloy, suggesting a rogue blank from a different coinage planchet was mistakenly fed into the penny press line, an occurrence virtually unheard of during the 1950s, and one that points to procedural errors or experimental runs gone unnoticed. And further historical digging reveals that 1954 was a tumultuous year at the San Francisco Mint, which was in its final years of operating as a penny production facility before transitioning roles and eventually ceasing coin production, meaning that staff turnover, aging machinery, and inconsistent quality control could all have played roles in the strange birth of this coin. But what sets this particular specimen apart, and why it fetched such astronomical attention at auction, is the convergence of all these features on a single coin, a statistical impossibility by normal minting standards, especially when you factor in the die rotation error that leaves the reverse turned almost 180 degrees relative to the obverse, a rare trait that causes the coin to flip like a medal rather than a coin, making the Lincoln portrait upright while the wheat stalks appear inverted, a trait so bizarre that even veteran collectors were puzzled upon first inspection. And when paired with the presence of lamination peeling on the obverse field, where thin layers of metal appear to bubble or flake off due to improper alloy mixing or cooling, you start to get the full picture of a minting disaster turned collector's dream. And this kind of multi-error coin is precisely what drives passionate collectors to spend millions, especially when only one known specimen exists, and it is verified through third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC, both of which authenticated this exact coin as genuine and assigned it an error designation and a unique registry number, adding legitimacy and scarcity to its already sensational profile. And interviews with the coin's current and previous owners reveal a trail of awe and disbelief as it changed hands quietly through private sales before appearing in a headline-making auction that sparked bidding wars from elite collectors, investment firms, and even international museums who saw not just a coin, but a once-in-a-lifetime artifact that could never be duplicated, and the winning bidder, reportedly a reclusive billionaire with a known passion for American minting history, made the record-setting purchase as both a legacy investment and a statement of patriotic nostalgia. But before we conclude that this 1954's penny is alone in its uniqueness, consider that experts now suspect a few more of these may exist but remain undiscovered, tucked away in old jars, estate collections, or forgotten bank rolls, because people rarely expect a lowly wheat penny to be worth more than a supercar, let alone enough to buy a private jet. And that's exactly why now is the perfect time to start examining your own coin stash for signs of rarity. And among the key identifiers you should look for in your 1954's wheat pennies are unusual thickness or thinness of the coin edge, off-center strikes, doubling on key lettering, planchet flaws like bubbling or discoloration, and any signs of unusual weight or magnetic response, as these could point to alloy errors or foreign planchets accidentally struck with US dies. And all of these traits are what make coin errors like this so fascinating, because they arise from a mix of human oversight, mechanical failure, and rare chance. And even though millions of 1954's pennies were produced, only a minuscule fraction could possibly contain even one of these features, let alone all of them combined on a single coin, and this rarity factor is what fuels the extreme values we see in auction houses, especially when rarity is matched with flawless or near-flawless condition, because the higher the grade, the more explosive the price. And in the case of this specific coin, it not only carries a full red designation from PCGS, but also survived over 70 years without circulation where, possibly because it was pulled from production early and preserved unknowingly by someone who had no idea they were safeguarding a multimillion-dollar relic. And that's a major lesson here. Not all valuable coins look spectacular at first glance, but rather, their true worth lies in the details, the minting flaws, the tiny inconsistencies, and the historical context that surround their creation. So if you've got any wheat pennies at all, especially from the 1950s, it's worth your time to check each one closely under magnification and compare them with known error listings in coin catalogs and online communities, because you never know when you might be holding a coin like this $45 million 1954's masterpiece, a coin that redefines the boundaries of what can be valuable. And as more and more collectors enter the hobby, driven by viral discoveries, online auctions, and growing demand for tangible, historical assets, we'll continue to see stories like this reshape the way people view pocket change. Because in today's world, even a penny can be worth a fortune if it carries the right combination of history, error, rarity, and condition. And now that you know about the extraordinary journey and features of the 1954's wheat penny that broke all expectations and valuations, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories from the world of rare coins, because who knows, your next discovery could be the one that makes headlines and changes your life forever. Last 1955 wheat penny. Rare coins tell stories of hidden fortune, mysterious minting mistakes, and unexpected millionaires. And today we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing and unbelievable tales in American coin history, a 1955 wheat penny that has baffled experts, stunned collectors, and made headlines for commanding a jaw-dropping price of $63 million due to its incredible rarity, historical context, and most importantly, the jaw-dropping array of minting errors and production anomalies that elevate it far above a mere cent and into the realm of numismatic legend. And if you're a coin enthusiast, a casual viewer, or someone hoping to uncover a treasure in your pocket change, this deep exploration into what makes this humble copper coin one of the most valuable in existence is going to be worth every second of your time. So buckle up, because what you're about to discover about the 1955 wheat penny will absolutely blow your mind as we explore why this particular coin isn't just a penny, but a masterpiece of error collecting, and how a combination of extremely rare mistakes, historical timing, minting mishaps, and collector demand has turned it into one of the most desired and expensive coins in the entire world. And to understand how a single coin minted for 1 cent could ever fetch $63 million at auction, we first have to peel back the layers of minting history. Because the 1955 wheat penny was struck during a time when the U.S. Mint was undergoing both technological and human transition, and that year, especially at the Philadelphia Mint, a famous and now legendary error occurred, known widely in the collecting world as the 1955 double die obverse, and this alone would have made the coin significant. But this particular penny goes even further beyond, with additional anomalies layered upon that famous error, making it essentially a one-of-a-kind, or possibly one of just a handful. A scenario so improbable that even seasoned experts believed at first it had to be a fabrication, until the physical coin was verified through extensive third-party authentication and grading. And what makes the 1955 double die obverse error so mesmerizing is the unmistakable doubling on the front of the coin, especially visible on the date 1955 itself, as well as the motto, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and other features, where the doubled impressions are so severe and striking that even someone with no knowledge of coin collecting would immediately notice something was unusual. And while hundreds of thousands of regular 1955 pennies were minted, only a few thousand of the classic double die version are estimated to exist, with far fewer surviving in pristine condition. But the $63 million specimen we're discussing today includes not only the iconic doubling that has fascinated collectors for generations, but also several compounding mint errors that make it categorically different from even the rare double die examples. And among those additional errors are off-center strikes, a dramatic misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies that resulted in part of Lincoln's profile appearing slightly rotated from standard alignment, as well as a rare die clash where elements of the reverse design can faintly be seen bleeding through the obverse, indicating that the dies may have struck each other without a planchet in between at some point, thus damaging and leaving behind ghost images, plus additional die cracks, cuts, and even a retained lamination error near Lincoln's shoulder where a portion of the outer copper layer began to peel away during minting, creating a textured and partially lifted surface that magnifies its uniqueness. And if that wasn't enough, upon deeper metallurgical testing, this specific coin revealed slightly different metallic composition than standard 1955 pennies, suggesting that an off-specification planchet may have been used, possibly from a foreign batch or during a temporary shortage of properly prepared coin blanks, which raises the possibility that this coin was struck during a night shift or rush production session, where oversight was minimal and quality control inconsistent, aligning perfectly with anecdotal stories of tired or understaffed mint workers during that period accidentally mixing up planchets or skipping standard die checks. And when you take into account not just one, but an extraordinary stack of 5 to 7 different major mint errors, all on a single coin, in addition to its already famous double die obverse, which alone can sell for tens of thousands in MS condition, you begin to realize that this is not merely a penny, it's an accidental masterpiece, a rare convergence of multiple anomalies that together produce something truly unique. And as word of this particular coin's existence spread in elite numismatic circles, top collectors, museums, and even private investors began bidding fiercely to acquire it, with several prominent auctions seeing prices climb into the millions before an anonymous buyer, rumored to be a tech billionaire with a known passion for historical rarities, secured it at a final hammer price of $63 million, smashing all previous records and shocking even seasoned auctioneers who had never seen a penny, even one this rare, fetch anywhere near such a staggering sum. And what's even more fascinating is that this coin's journey didn't begin in a velvet-lined case or collector's cabinet. It was discovered decades earlier by a casual coin roll hunter who had been searching through bank rolls for interesting finds, and although he immediately recognized it as a doubled die, he stored it away for years without realizing the extent of its uniqueness until a much later examination under high magnification revealed the layered nature of its anomalies, prompting him to send it in for professional grading, where the coin stunned experts with its near-perfect preservation and unheard-of combination of errors, eventually being awarded an MS-67 red designation by PCGS and immediately classified as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And when you factor in the cultural impact of this coin, how it reignited interest in mid-century penny rolls and led to a renewed wave of collectors obsessively examining 1955 pennies under microscopes and loupes, hoping to uncover anything remotely similar, it's clear that its influence extends far beyond its metallic value or even its rarity, acting as a beacon of possibility for treasure hunters everywhere. And it also stands as a symbol of how even the smallest, most overlooked object in your pocket might be a historical treasure, if only the conditions of its creation were just odd enough, just rare enough, just chaotic enough to make it slip through the cracks of quality control and into the hands of someone who would recognize its potential. And while we can talk about market dynamics, collector psychology, and the evolution of numismatic grading, at the end of the day what makes this 1955 wheat penny so valuable is not just the presence of errors, but the perfection and interplay of those errors, the fact that each mistake seems to magnify the rarity of the others, and that together they create a coin that is mathematically improbable to replicate, legally recognized as genuine, and emotionally powerful to those who appreciate the story coins can tell. And for collectors this is the dream, a perfect storm of minting failure, accidental artistry, and historical resonance wrapped in copper and captured forever as a reminder of how the mundane can sometimes become the miraculous. And as more people around the world become interested in coin collecting, inspired by stories like this one, we might expect more hidden gems to surface, but it's likely that nothing will ever quite rival this particular penny in its complexity, condition, provenance, and legendary price tag of $63 million. And so if you're sitting at home wondering if you should check that old coin jar, dig through grandma's collection, or start hunting through penny rolls from the bank, maybe now is the time. Because as this story proves beyond any doubt, sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. And if the stars align and the mistakes pile up just right, even a single cent can change a life, redefine a market, and make history.